Hey, what's going on, everyone? Sorry, that was just being a little bit slow there. Dave Caniddle here. Welcome to another vlog. I'm coming to you live from my phone. Charger situation and the outlets are different over here in the UK, and we didn't bring the appropriate chargers, so not on my computer, I'm on my cell phone. And because of that, cell phone battery very low. I have to sit here, so I'm right outside of the one bathroom here, so that's what that door is. And going to give you a recap of my day today. Today was September 19th, 2018, and I am in England. I'm in the UK. I headed to Wales tomorrow, but today we started the day in Liverpool, drove down through Stoke, and ended up in Nottingham. And so I'm going to just recap my day, give you some updates on stadiums I visited and whatnot. And so if you have any questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to interact with me here. I'm on my phone, so I think the comments will just pop up, but I'm not exactly sure. So we started in Liverpool, got up, went for a run, got in the car and drove down to Nottingham Forest. That was Nottingham, I should say. That was always the plan. And as we were driving, we came right through the city of Stoke, and the Bet365 used to be called the Britannia. Bet365 Stadium is literally right off the highway we were on. So made the last second decision to just pull right off the highway. It was less than a minute from where we got off and just went to the stadium. So it was, Stoke was in the Premier League for something like 10 years. And so I heard a lot about the city of Stoke, and I didn't really get to experience really any of it. But I've heard that it's pretty hard pressed, that, it's had a difficult time, people and all of that. And so I didn't know what to expect from the stadium exactly, but Stoke being in the Premier League for 10 years, I mean, that stadium was absolutely gorgeous. It was enormous. The area kind of immediately surrounding it seemed to be pretty nice, and um, I was a little surprised at just how nice it was. So that was my thoughts on the Bet365 Stadium. Again, didn't spend too much time kind of doing things there. Then we got in the car, continued on to Nottingham, and when I was doing the research for going to Nottingham, I never realized Notts County was based in the city of Nottingham. I've used them in FIFA before, and had experience with them, but I never knew where they were based. And so, just a little aside here, I think FIFA, from EA Sports, the video game, could do a better job of providing more like the historical context of the teams that you're using. A lot of times, I don't really have a ton of details on. Sorry, I'm going to be speaking a little bit quieter here. It's late at night, and I'm in a hotel room. I don't want to wake up any of the neighbors, so that explains my voice here. But in FIFA, I think they could do a better job of just giving historical context. That's something I always am really super interested in. And so if they gave background on this team is based in this city, these are the trophies they've won historically, and all of that information, I think that would just be more interesting for someone like myself. So that's just a little aside there. But when doing the research, we realized Notts County is very, very close to Nottingham Forest, and we had already had tickets to the Nottingham Forest match, so we went to the Notts County Stadium, which is literally right across the river. If the river wasn't there, you could probably throw a rock between the two stadiums, but because you have to walk kind of around, I think the walk was like less than a half mile. We actually went and parked at Notts County, went into the club store. I got my soccer scarf, obviously, because that's what I do. And then we left our car there and went to dinner. And then we went to the Nottingham Forest match, and that was perfectly fine. They charged £5 or whatnot, but again, it was pretty convenient, and it would be really cool and interesting just to see those two teams in the same division. I know that they haven't been for quite some time, but it would be fascinating to see that, because I gotta imagine that would be quite a rivalry with the teams being so close together. The Notts County Stadium was kind of a typical old English ground, similar to. So it had four kind of stands. They weren't all connected through, and it was pretty big for a club that hasn't been at the top level in a number of years. I mean, I have no idea how many it seats, but just at glance, I gotta imagine it's 15 to 20,000. Pretty nice. I mean, we went in and used the hospitality restroom, and it was pretty nice in there. They had a ton of history. I think they claim to be the world's oldest league football club. So it was just fascinating to kind of experience all of that. Again, it was a pleasant surprise for someone like me who didn't even necessarily realize that they were in that town. Then, went to dinner and then we went to the Forest match. And so that was really fascinating because that was my first time seeing a championship match. And, you hear a ton of things about the championship really isn't a great quality. It tends to be a little bit rough, very physical, and all of that. And, there were definitely elements of that, but I was pretty impressed with the level of technical, play from a lot of the players. Before we, get into all of that, just wanted to touch on the stadium. It's called City Ground. Notts County is called Meadow Lane. I can't remember if I mentioned that, but Nottingham Forest plays at what's called City Ground, and it was enormous. There was I think 26,000 in attendance. It was pretty full for a Wednesday night championship match. I gotta imagine the stadium doesn't seat more than 30,000, maybe not even more than 28,000. It was pretty full. But the stand we were in, which was the Brian Clough stand, was enormous. Two stories, a huge roof over it, just really kind of towering and kind of imposing over the stadium. And that kind of wrapped around to the back end where the Sheffield fans were seated and half of the kind of passionate standing section of the Nottingham Forest fans. And then the other side of the stadium, and then over to the right, didn't have as big of stands as that, but again, it was a pretty impressive sized stadium for a club that, again, hasn't been at the top level in probably 20 years or so. I could have my dates wrong, but I know Forest won some European Cups back in the day, and they were a great team back in the 70s and 80s, and they haven't really done a ton since maybe the late 80s or so. Stadium was very, very impressive. Bought a scarf, just realized that it wasn't a branded scarf from the club. It was more of like a Nottingham Forest kind of coat of arms and some of those things. So I don't have a scarf with the official emblem of the club, but I still really like the scarf. As far as the match is concerned, again, I was surprised at the level of technical ability from a lot of the players. I don't watch too much championship soccer, but again, just being in person, I mean, the players are still incredibly skilled. It was incredibly fast paced, and what I'll say is it was frenetic. So I saw the Champions League match last night between Liverpool and PSG, and that was high paced, but because both teams are so skilled. Everything okay in there? Oh, okay. I'm hearing noises over here. Um, because from the PSG and Liverpool match, the players are so skilled in possession that the ball being played around is moved so quickly and the players are moving, so incredibly quickly. But because possession isn't lost as much, it doesn't appear quite as frenetic. And sometimes it doesn't appear quite as quick as, the match that I watched today. And again, I think that's due to just the slight lack of technical quality from the players. But again, the match was what I'll say. It was kind of a little bit stereotypical English, or at least the way Sheffield Wednesday played. They had a big, strong target striker that they kept trying to knock the ball into. The central defenders on Nottingham Forest were incredibly physical, a lot of shirt grabbing, just very, very physical match both ways. And Nottingham tried to play, I think, a little bit more possession. They still definitely had an element of played into the central striker, but their central striker, I was really impressed with him. He was called Grabin or Gramin. I'm going to struggle with names here, but he was number 7. He got a goal for Forest. It was a fantastically hit free kick, and he got his head to it. But I was really impressed with his play throughout the match. He was constantly moving. He was strong. He wasn't the tallest guy in the world, but he played incredibly well for a central striker. So I was really impressed with his play. It was interesting to see Jack Colbeck. Didn't realize he was in the second division, and I always thought he was a bigger player. I knew he was incredibly physical in the middle of the park, but it was surprising to see him. I don't know. I'm probably 5'9", 5'10". He couldn't have been bigger than me, and it was just fascinating to see him out there and being a guy kind of slightly on the smaller side, but still being incredibly physical and strong in the tackle. What else? Oh, Pantelimon, the former Man City second or third keeper. He plays for Forest, and watching him warm up, I didn't realize who he was at first, but my first comment was, "Oh my God, that guy is tall." I played with a goalkeeper who was 6'7" in high school, and this guy, I mean, he has to be 6'8", 6'9". He was even bigger than the guy I played with. Watching him warm up was really really interesting. He struggled, or he didn't struggle, but it was the slowest warm up I've ever seen from a keeper. So a lot of times you'll see goalkeepers um, hit shots and immediately get up and sort of work on the reactions. And a lot of it's just, especially the warm up, is very, very quick and fast paced. And it was the slowest warm up I've ever seen from a goalkeeper. And during the match, he wasn't really challenged too much. But again, that was just really interesting for me to see. I don't know if he's injured and he was really trying to take it easy, or if that's just how he always warms up. So that was something interesting to see from that. I'm trying to think of what else. I know Sheffield Wednesday had a player called Onoma. I don't know if that's the player from Tottenham. I thought Onoma from Tottenham was a winger, and this guy number 7 who was playing in the middle of the park was again playing in the middle of the pitch, and he wasn't overly impressive. And so if he is the Tottenham player, I think I'd be a little bit disappointed and or worried about him making an impact at Tottenham. He didn't have a particularly good game, and again, it may not be the same player, but just his name sort of stuck out to me. Trying to think if there's anything else really to report. I know nobody's joined, so I don't really have any comments or questions to address here, but Forest got the win 2-1. Their second goal was incredibly well worked. Not Diaz. What was his name? I think it was like Gonçalves. It was like a Portuguese name, but he got the ball on the left wing. And I think it eventually like squirted back out to him. He had it. The possession was kind of lost, but Forrest kind of retained it and got the ball back. And then Onoma came over to defend him, and he played number 10 played a quick 1-2 with may have been Graben, or I'm not sure who he played it into, and Onoma just completely switched off, and the guy collected the ball back and hit a fantastic shot, just upper 90 far post, just bent it right in, and it was an incredibly well worked goal from Forrest, and fantastic to see. But Onoma was directly at fault as a defending player. He didn't track the run whatsoever, but it was a nice back heel sort of combination play from Forest. Second half, Sheffield again resorted to a lot of long ball situations. Again, it was just incredibly physical. There were a couple instances where you could feel the tension and the emotion of the crowd really start to rise. And, I didn't know if someone was going to make a rash challenge and sort of get a red card and, see if anything would happen there. But generally there would then be a turnover and the emotion would die down a bit. And then Sheffield's goal kind of came from nothing. Deflected shot off a broken play late in the match, and 2-1 made things interesting to end the match, but again, nothing much to report there. Forgot to touch on this before, the supporters, and just, kind of comparing and contrasting that with what I experienced last night with the Champions League match versus a championship match, two very different experiences. Obviously, at Liverpool, they had more than double the amount of fans in the stadium, so that naturally is going to create a bit more noise. It was interesting. So, the Forest supporters have a song. I don't know the lyrics. I don't know the name of the song, but they sing it at the very, very start of the match and after halftime. So, as halftime is kicking off, and the entire stadium gets involved. Everybody's standing, everybody's singing. It's very loud, and it is quite the experience. And just being there was, you could feel it, and that was really, really cool and interesting. Beyond that, there were only a handful of times, maybe 5 to 10 times throughout the match, where really the whole stadium kind of got involved in a chant that lasted more than a couple seconds. For the most part, they had this chant that a lot of them would go to, which was "Come on, you Reds," and the gentleman behind us loved to chant it. He would only chant it once, and it would just be this guttural sound of something that sounded like "Come on, you Reds," but he wasn't saying "Come on, you Reds." It was just yeah. It was just stuff like that, and it was kind of funny to see and experience him doing that. Again, they didn't really have a ton of other chants. They had a couple mixed in, but it was mainly "Come on, you Reds." They did that song at the beginning of the half and at the end of at the beginning of the match and at the beginning of the second half. and yeah, ultimately got the win. It was interesting. There was a ton of Sheffield fans at the match, but it was nowhere near in comparison to the PSG fans in the amount of support and chanting that they did throughout the match. There were a couple, again, maybe 5 to 10 instances where you could really hear the away supporters in unison chanting. And for the rest of the match, I mean, I'm sure that there was some talking, but it wasn't sort of choreographed and loud the way that maybe I would have expected from an away supporter section. And again, from the home supporter section, especially like their version of the, you know, diehard supporters who stood the whole match, you didn't really hear a ton from them throughout the match. Whereas, you know, in the Liverpool match, definitely the Liverpool fans were encouraged by the PSG fans, and you know there was that push pull sort of situation. But you know, it was just very different experience. But still, I don't want to knock Forest too much. It was a championship match. They had 26,000 plus people there. There definitely were some passionate fans, and um, you know the chants that they did were really cool. And it was just it was a good experience, and I'm really happy we were able to get the tickets, and they were a hell of a lot cheaper than the tickets from last night. So for the, you know, cost and for the level of entertainment and perspective, you know, I thought it was fantastic. So highly recommend, you know, checking that out if you're ever in England. You know, I got the tickets through the club, just called them up and they were able to help me out. Which certainly isn't the case for Premier League matches. So if you're ever coming over to England and interested in checking out maybe a match, but you know don't have to see your favorite club maybe in the Premier League and are open to seeing a championship team, most of them you can kind of get tickets for. So I'd recommend that. And again, you know, another fantastic day. You know, 3 more scarves. I think I'm up to 6 scarves on the trip. Hope to get, you know, double digits here. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, please let us know. I don't know if I'll do another one of these on my trip, but you know, if you like them, let me know. Bros Talking Soccer Twitter handles at BT Soccer Pod, or if you want to send us an email, bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com, or my personal Twitter is at dkinnitz11. Thank you so much for checking out another travel vlog video from Bros Talking Soccer, Dave over in the UK, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. See ya. And I don't know how to stop this, so I'm going to click this button and hope it works. Talk to you soon.